Welcome to Tech News of the Week with your host, the amazing Spider-Man's cousin, John Recluse.
Welcome to Tech News of the Week. This is our weekly tech news roundup where Chris and I talk about 4 interesting stories that caught our eye. I'll go ahead and get this one started. Quantum encryption standards emerge from NIST. Or do they? In an auspicious turn of events, the National Institute of Standards and Technology, aka NIST, officially approved 3 post-quantum encryption standards last week. Why is it auspicious? Well, you'll have to wait for this week's main episode to find out. Look at that, Chris. We did a teaser thing. I'm so good at this. I deserve a cookie. And not like that bullshit Famous Amos bagged cookie thing. I'm talking legit crumble action to my front door. I would also accept an Otis Spunkmeyer muffin. That would be good too.
What are you talking about?
What am I talking about? Oh, yes. Quantum safe encryption. Why new standards? Well, there's a legitimate concern that forthcoming quantum computers will be able to crack current encryption techniques, and thus new post-quantum or quantum-safe encryption standards are required to defend against such an attack. As noted by the Register, these attacks, like nuclear fusion, are always about a decade away. Still better safe than infiltrated by Chinese spies and North Korean state actors, am I right? The 3 new standards are called Crystals Kyber for general encryption, and Crystals Dilithium, or Sphinx Plus, I think that's how you say it, for digital signatures. There are additional algorithms that are still under consideration, including Falcon, which may be approved later this year. NIST and cryptography experts are recommending the adoption of these new post-quantum encryption standards ASAP for 2 reasons. First, adopting a new standard for encryption takes time. Libraries need to be written, applications have to be updated, custom ASICs need to be fabbed, and second, there's a really good chance that nation-states like China, Russia, and of course the good old USA have been archiving intercepted or pilfered encrypted data with the hope that they can decrypt it once the promised quantum computers become a reality. The sooner you can adopt the new standards, the sooner you can hide from Uncle Sam's prying eyes. Now, if you'll excuse me for a moment, someone's knocking rather insistently at my door.
Run. Crowdstrike president accepts most epic fail award in person.
Oh.
So, not every piece of news that has come out of last week's DEF CON Black Hat Twofer in Las Vegas has been great. I am looking at you, Caesars Entertainment, for your blatantly illegal searches of attendees' hotel rooms. Good luck getting repeat business. But there was at least one thing that was kind of fun. Crowdstrike, as we talked about in detail back in episode 117, had a bit of an oopsie.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it wasn't that big of an oopsie. It was just, they just kind of quasi-caused an immediate catastrophic failure of approximately 9 million reported Windows PCs, ground many businesses to a halt, and let us all know exactly how bad Delta's disaster recovery business continuity plan is.
It's a whoopsie doodle.
It's a goof. Well, this week in DEF CON's version of the Razzies, CrowdStrike won the Most Epic Fail Award. One has to assume this was a unanimous vote.
Mm-hmm.
The award highlights major blunders in the cybersecurity industry. And this year was CrowdStrike's year. Number 1 with a blue screen, or bullet. Number 1 with a bullet.
Mm.
Now, what was a surprise, though, was CrowdStrike President Michael Sentonas showing up to accept the award in person. In his short remarks, he said, with no qualifications, "We got this horribly wrong. We've said that a number of different times, and it's super important to own it." Now, I don't know if this is going to be enough to sway everybody or even anybody's mind going forward about the safety of running CrowdStrike, but much like Halle Berry collecting her Razzie for Catwoman in person all those years ago, this was, this felt like the right thing to do.
Yeah. Like many 30-year-olds, Fat 32 gets a little bigger. Since its very inception, Windows and MS-DOS before it used the file allocation table file system for formatting storage media. The original FAT12 had 12 bits to construct linked lists, limiting the volume size to 32 megabytes. Eventually, the spec was increased to 16 bits, then 32 bits with FAT32. There's also exFAT, but we're focused on FAT32 here. Although FAT32 introduced with Windows 95 could theoretically house volumes up to 2 terabytes in size, the disk formatting tool baked into all modern versions of Windows was arbitrarily set to limit things to 32 gigabytes. You could create a larger volume with a number of third-party tools or with PowerShell, but for reasons explained by former Microsoft employee David Plummer, check out Dave's Garage on YouTube, the limitation was added by Dave based on some constraints having to do with Windows 95. I mean, 2 terabytes for Windows 95 seems unnecessary. Now, almost 30 years later, the disk formatting tool in Windows 11 will start supporting FAT32 volumes at the intended limit of 2 terabytes. Despite the fact that NTFS and exFAT both exist and probably are superior to FAT32 for the majority of applications, it is nice to see Microsoft improving an old tool rather than breaking shit with AI. Unless, of course, AI wrote the update, in which case, thanks, I hate it.
We have a new contender for the largest data breach ever.
USA.
I know, right? How exciting. The breach itself actually happened back in April when a threat actor called US DoD, I am almost certain this is a humorous alias and not really the United States Department of Defense.
Maybe.
And it involved a data scraping company called National Public Data. In April, the data was reportedly stolen and was on sale for $3.5 million. The data hoard, or whatever we call it these days, was claimed to have nearly 3 billion records containing, quote, records for every person, unquote, in the US, UK, and Canada. As usual, nobody paid for the information that we know of, at least. And the records were eventually just, dumped on the dark web by a different threat actor called Fennis. Fun names.
Yay.
Fun names.
Mm-hmm.
National Public Data as a company seems to be a pretty standard, grayly moral data hoarding company that people use for background checks and shit. And they're getting sued for a lot of money over this breach. The lawsuit states a few interesting things. One, the company's actual name is Jericho Pictures, and they just do business as National Public Data, so that's weird.
Yeah.
Two, data collected by NPD, they collected it from non-public sources, aka nobody willingly gave them PII. Three, this data was stored unencrypted, thus explaining why it was so easily stolen, which is a violation of a lot of rules, laws, and basic common sense. Number 4, NPD never notified anyone about the breach. Tisk tisk. And number 5, now this is interesting. The database does not contain information from individuals who use data opt-out services. For everyone else, including the deceased, expect your records of names, addresses, past addresses, and social security numbers to be freely available on the dark web again. The lawsuit lists all kinds of things that NPD didn't do to protect data, and we will see if this goes anywhere even close to discovery, and if we ever get clarity on how this actually happened. Personally, I'm betting on some old server we forgot about that we didn't patch anymore and had RDP open to the internet. But really, the possibilities are limitless.
Probably. Well, the name's right there. It's National Public Data. They're making it public nationally to everyone. It's in the name.
Out. Get out.
All right, that's it. We're done. Go away now. Bye.